What's up guys, my name is Cameron Gallagher from We Are Film, and today we're taking a look at my 5K iMac 9 months later, so let's get into it. So about 9 months ago I purchased the 5K iMac, and this was basically going to be my main editing workstation at my house. You can see it behind me. And I want to do a follow-up video because a lot of people had some questions on what they should get first off, and also how it's been going and how the iMac has been working for me. So just to recap, I picked the 5K iMac, not the iMac Pro, which we'll get into in a minute, and I actually picked the 8-core version, the maxed out CPU. I also got the Radeon graphics, the 8GB. I got 8GB, and then I also bought a third-party 64GB and installed that myself. So it does have 64 gigs of RAM in it, and I think I just got the 512 gig SSD internally because I use most of my storage externally. So again, quickly to go over a few things, one of the biggest things that I'd recommend doing is getting the highest CPU core count possible, because it is going to basically be the longevity of that computer. The longer the CPU lasts, the better the computer's going to last. Same with your graphics card, the longer the graphics card, and the RAM, although RAM you can upgrade, the better off you are. So in my case with the 8-core iMac, it is maxed out. The CPU is as most powerful you can get on the 5K version. And obviously I have 64 gigs of RAM, which I think you can get 128 gigs, but 64 is more than enough. And obviously the Radeon 8GB is the best you can get as well. Although I do use an external 8GB graphics card, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So it's been 9 months now for me using this, and I've used this with a ton of different stuff, and I have absolutely been in love. It has made me not think about the computer process. I've stopped thinking about how I'm going to have to edit big files or work with larger files, and I just don't have to worry about it. I just throw the footage in there, I get editing, and I'm ready to go, and I'm good to go. So I've been using the Ursa Mini Pro G2 shooting Blackmagic RAW as well as the GH5. So I'm pretty much always shooting in 4K or above, and obviously in large file sizes. The Ursa Mini Pro's file sizes are pretty huge, and the GH5s are manageable, but they're still larger than like a really cheap DSLR or something. And this thing has been able to cut through everything I can throw at it perfectly. Now, a side note, I am using DaVinci Resolve, so DaVinci Resolve is a lot more optimized for the Mac and for the Mac systems in general, just more than Premiere Pro. Final Cut is pretty optimized as well, but DaVinci Resolve is just about on the same page as Final Cut. And for me, editing has truly been flawless, and I mean flawless. 4.6K ProRes and or Blackmagic RAW just cuts so smoothly, it's just easy to go through, easy to edit, and I really just, I can't tell you how happy I am enough with the computer and with the purchase in general. And the great thing is I feel like I got something that was a long-term investment, and that's what I'm most happy about. So I wanted to go over a few of the things that I do love and a few of the things that I don't like so much. So obviously one of the biggest things is choosing a Mac is a lot more expensive than choosing a PC or a custom built, and I'm still glad I did, because some of the macOS apps and sort of the things that I use in the Apple ecosystem, one of the biggest things is I use messages so often. Obviously I'm texting, whether it be just personal text, so family and friends, but I also use messages as a way to contact a lot of people, because it's a lot of way people talk right now. Most people I work with have iPhones, so having the ability to be able to use my phone and then my computer and everything sync between them, as well as my laptop, that is really huge. And again, sometimes people send me notes like, hey, this is how you spell this person's name, or this is how this happens, can you update that? And instead of it being an email, it's a text, and I can easily just read it on my computer and do it right there. And especially if I have to copy and paste something, it makes it even easier. Along with that is the AirDrop feature. Now this is so awesome when it comes to making stuff that you have to then put to Instagram or things like that. So obviously I do a lot of weddings, and one of the biggest things with weddings is taking the stills and some of the videos and putting them on Instagram. Now instead of having to do some weird workflow with Dropbox or OneDrive or whatever, Google Drive, I can easily just airdrop those directly to my phone, and then all those are right on the camera roll. I can also upload those to the Photos app, and it goes the other way too. So if I have to receive a photo from my phone or someone else's phone, maybe someone texted me something or whatever it may be, I can easily airdrop that image right back to my Mac. And again, the way I work, that is super handy, and although it sounds kind of dumb, it is a massive, massive workflow change. One of my favorite things about this computer are the 2 Thunderbolt 3 connectivity ports. So obviously Thunderbolt 3 is insanely fast, and because I'm using external Thunderbolt 3 RAID, I can have a very, very large and very, very fast storage solution externally and have it hooked up, and I can also have my eGPU. So I do use the eGPU for some extra power in DaVinci Resolve, but I also use it to power the second monitor over there, kind of behind my head so you can't see it. Really the eGPU powers that and also gives a little bit of extra connectivity, but that way the external monitor is not taking power away from the internal GPU, it's sort of getting its own, processing power. And again, it's helping more in DaVinci Resolve. So really, I like everything. Like, it's really hard to say that there's things that I don't like, but if I had to pick a few things that I don't like, There's only two small things that bother me about the iMac. One of them is the massive bezels on this thing, and I understand there's a computer inside of it, so obviously having larger bezels is probably gonna happen, and it's a beautiful 5K display, so I'm not complaining that much, but it is a little bit annoying when you're putting it against another monitor because there's a huge gap, and the 27-inch monitor, the 4K one, looks very different from the 27-inch 5K iMac one. So even though the screen is beautiful, the bezels are just a little bit big, and it kind of makes it weird if you're using dual monitors especially. The other thing is, even though I love the 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, I really wish there was 4. And one of the biggest reasons being is because when I expand in the future and I add more storage solutions, or maybe if I were to add another eGPU, if I were to power another monitor, or just for processing power, again, you only have 2, and then you start to actually cut into the bandwidth. So if I were to have a RAID, an eGPU, and maybe a server that's Thunderbolt 3, having all of those is not going to be able to be possible unless I'm splitting one of those. Now, obviously Thunderbolt 3 is super fast, so it probably would be fine in most cases. But again, if there was 3 or 4 ports, I think that would be really awesome. But again, that's what the iMac Pro is for, and that's why the iMac Pro is what it is. Now, obviously, I don't do a ton of VFX work or anything super crazy like that, so for me, the 8-core and 64 gigs of RAM and the 8 gig Radeon is more than enough. Obviously, if you're someone who does bigger or crazier things, yeah, you might want to go a little bit more. But in my case, the 5K iMac was by far the best purchase I've made and the best bang for your buck when it comes to computers in general. Again, if you're using the Mac ecosystem and you want to use Mac OS. I understand there's a ton of ways you can build a computer way cheaper, but again, for my needs and what I need, this thing is just awesome, and I really can't speak highly enough about it. This thing just cut through the Ursa G2 footage like absolutely nothing, no problem, along with the GH5 compressed footage. So all in all, this computer has been a very good purchase, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to purchase a computer for the long term, but also doesn't want to jump up to something like an iMac Pro or a Mac Pro. So anyway, guys, that has been the 9 months with my 5K iMac. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any other comments or questions or anything, leave them down in the description below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone for subscribing. We hit 10,000 subscribers finally. It's very exciting for us. I never thought years and years ago that it would even hit 1,000 subscribers. When I remember hitting 100, I thought that was pretty amazing. So the fact that we have 10,000 subscribers is really awesome, and we're gonna do something special for that very soon. Kind of talking to some sponsors right now. So anyway, guys, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.